Hello there, and welcome to the AstroSleep channel. I am so glad you found your way here tonight. Whether you have had a long day filled with noise and movement, or whether you are simply looking for a quiet place to rest your thoughts, you have arrived at the right sanctuary. Tonight, we are not just looking up at the sky from the solid ground of Earth. We are going to gently detach ourselves from the pull of our daily lives and drift outward into the vast velvet silence of the solar system. We are embarking on a long, slow journey to visit the giants of our cosmic neighborhood. We will travel to the realms of Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. These are not merely planets. They are colossal oceans of clouds and gas. They are the silent guardians, the keepers of rings and storms that move with the slow, heavy rhythm of eternity. In the text of the universe, they are the chapters written in ice and wind, stories that are too large to be read quickly, stories that require us to slow down, to breathe, and to simply be present. It is easy to forget, amidst the busyness of our days, that we are surrounded by such immense tranquility. Just beyond the blue shell of our own sky, there is a stillness so profound that it wraps around worlds thousands of times larger than our own. Tonight, we will find comfort in that vastness. We will find peace in the knowledge that these giant worlds continue their slow, majestic dances, regardless of our worries. Turning and turning in the quiet. If these calm, curious explorations help you unwind, I invite you to like or subscribe. It helps other sleepy souls find their way here too. And now, before we begin our drift toward the outer reaches, there is nothing left for you to do but rest. The day is done. The tasks are finished. You have permission to let go of everything that has required your energy and attention. I want you to find a comfortable position, perhaps lying down or sitting in a soft chair, and turn your attention inward. Feel the weight of your body settling into the surface beneath you. Imagine that gravity is not a force pulling you down, but a gentle hand holding you safe, grounding you, allowing your muscles to soften. Start with your breath. Do not try to change it or force it into a rhythm. Just watch it. Observe the cool air entering as you inhale and the warm air leaving as you exhale. With every breath out, imagine a little more tension leaving your body, dissolving into the air like mist. Shift your attention to your face. Soften your forehead. Smooth out the space between your eyebrows. Let your eyes rest heavy in their sockets. Unclench your jaw and let your tongue rest loosely in your mouth. Allow this wave of relaxation to flow down your neck, into your shoulders. Let your shoulders drop away from your ears, sinking lower, releasing the burdens they have carried all day. Feel this warmth travel down your arms, past your elbows, all the way to your fingertips. Your hands are open and soft, holding nothing, grasping nothing. Feel the relaxation move down your spine, vertebrae by vertebrae, unwinding the knots of the day. Let your chest rise and fall effortlessly. Let your stomach be soft. Feel the sensation move into your hips, your thighs, your knees. Your legs are heavy and warm. Let the feeling flow down to your ankles and your feet. Wiggle your toes gently, and then let them be still. Your entire body is now a landscape of peace, heavy and warm and safe. Imagine now that the room around you is fading. The walls are dissolving into soft shadows. The ceiling opens up to reveal a deep indigo night sky, sprinkled with the gentle light of 1,000,000 distant stars. You are weightless now. The gravity of Earth has loosened its hold, just enough to let you float. You are rising slowly, like a leaf caught in a gentle updraft, lifting off the ground, drifting up through the atmosphere. Below you, the world grows quiet. The lights of the cities blur into soft, glowing constellations. The noise of life fades into a distant hum, and then into silence. You are enveloped in the cool, quiet embrace of space. It is not empty here. It is filled with a peaceful presence, a sense of timelessness. You are safe in this drift. You are a traveler of the mind, free to wander among the stars. Ahead of us lies the dark, open ocean of the cosmos, and in the distance, waiting for us with the patience of eons, are the giants. They are calling to us, not with words, but with their gravity, a gentle pull guiding us toward their mysteries. We are moving toward them now, leaving the inner solar system behind, drifting past the asteroid belt, venturing into the realm of the outer planets. Let your mind relax, your breathing slow, and your body become light. Let's begin. We have left the warm, familiar shores of the inner solar system behind us. We have drifted past the red dust of Mars and navigated through the silent, scattered stones of the asteroid belt. The sun, which was once a roaring fire in our sky, has now shrunk to a brilliant, piercing star, smaller, but still watching over us with a steady white light. As we float further into the deepening dark, the silence around us grows thicker. It is a silence that has existed for billions of years, a heavy velvet curtain that wraps around everything it touches. And then, emerging from the shadows ahead, we see it. At first, it appears as a bright, unblinking eye in the darkness, the third brightest object in our night sky, a beacon that has guided astronomers and dreamers since the dawn of humanity. But as we drift closer, carried by an unseen current of gravity, that point of light resolves into a world. This is Jupiter. This is the king of planets. It hangs in the void like a monumental jewel, a sphere of swirling clouds so vast that it defies our sense of scale. It is the fifth planet from the Sun, sitting quietly in the cold expanse between the rocky belt and the ringed wonder of Saturn. As we approach, we can feel the change in the texture of space itself. There is a presence here, a heaviness that commands respect. Jupiter is not merely a planet. It is a world of immense authority. It is the largest planet in our solar system, a colossal giant that holds a mass 1,000th that of our Sun. That might sound small in the language of stars, but in the language of planets, it is staggering. If you were to gather all the other planets, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Earth, Venus, Mars, and Mercury, it is the elder brother, the heavyweight anchor, that keeps the rest of the family steady. We are drifting into its sphere of influence now, feeling the gentle but firm pull of its gravity. On Earth, gravity is the force that keeps our feet on the grass and the oceans in their beds. Here, gravity is a master weaver, shaping the destiny of the entire solar system. The gravity of Jupiter is so significant that it affects every other planet, nudging them, guiding them, whispering to them across the millions of kilometers of empty space. It is a force of connection, an invisible web that binds the wandering celestial bodies to a greater order. Let us pause here, suspended in the stillness, and contemplate the sheer power of this world. Imagine standing on a platform, hovering just above the cloud tops. The gravity here is intense, over twice that of Earth. If you could stand there, you would feel heavy, grounded, rooted to the spot by a force of 2.5 Gs. But in our dream state, this weight does not crush us. Instead, it feels like a thick, warm blanket, a comforting pressure that holds us secure. It is the feeling of being held by something unshakable, something that has endured for eons and will endure for eons more. As we watch this giant spin in the dark, we begin to understand its relationship with the Sun. Usually, we think of planets orbiting a star like children running around a maypole, the star standing perfectly still in the center. But Jupiter is too massive for such a simple game. It is so heavy, so commanding, that it does not just orbit the Sun, it dances with it. There is a point in space called the barycenter. This is the center of mass between two orbiting objects, the balance point of their celestial waltz. For most planets, like our tiny Earth, this balance point sits deep inside the Sun, buried within its fiery heart, so the Sun barely needs to move as Earth circles it. But Jupiter is different. Its immense mass pulls the center of gravity out from the Sun's core, lifting it up and placing it just above the Sun's surface, at a distance of about 1.68 solar radii from the Sun's center. Visualized in the slow motion of cosmic time, this creates a beautiful rhythmic interaction. As Jupiter swings around its 12-year orbit, the Sun also moves. The Sun performs a small, graceful circle around this invisible point in space, nodding to its largest companion. It is a partnership, a duet performed in the silence of the void. The Sun and Jupiter are twirling around each other, holding hands across the vast distance, locked in a gravitational embrace that keeps the solar system in balance. Even the Sun, the star that gives us life, bows slightly to the majesty of Jupiter. This dance is slow and steady. Jupiter takes 12 Earth years to complete one single journey around the Sun. If you were to live on Jupiter, a single year would consume over a decade of human history. Seasons here are not marked by the rapid changes of spring buds or falling leaves. In fact, seasons here hardly exist at all. Jupiter stands upright in its orbit, with an axial tilt of only 3 degrees. Unlike Earth, which leans back and forth to welcome the summer and the winter, Jupiter remains constant. There is no harsh winter chill that comes and goes, no sweltering summer heat that fades. There is only the eternal, consistent climate of the giant, a stability that stretches out over centuries. As we float closer, we begin to sense the protective nature of this world. For billions of years, Jupiter has acted as the silent guardian of the inner solar system. It is a cosmic shield, a watcher in the dark. Because of its immense gravity, it acts like a great vacuum cleaner for the solar system, sweeping up debris and wandering rocks that might otherwise threaten the smaller worlds like Earth. Think of the long-period comets, those icy travelers from the distant edges of the system that fall inward toward the Sun. Without Jupiter, they might careen through the inner solar system with dangerous unpredictability, but Jupiter is there. Its gravity reaches out and catches them. It can tear asteroids apart or capture them, turning them into docile moons that orbit obediently. It can perturb their orbits, giving them a gentle gravitational kick that sends them flinging out of the solar system entirely, banishing them into the deep interstellar night so that they can never harm us. In this way, Jupiter is a hero. It takes the blows so that we do not have to. It absorbs the impacts, swallowing the stones and the ice into its deep, thick atmosphere, where they dissolve and vanish without a trace. It has likely destroyed many celestial objects in the ancient past, clearing the path for life to flourish on the quiet blue marble we call home. We exist, in part, because Jupiter exists. We sleep safely in our beds at night because this giant is awake, patrolling the boundary, keeping the chaotic elements of the universe at bay. As we drift alongside this planetary titan, we can see the shadow it casts. It is so bright in the sky that, from the right vantage point, it can cast shadows on the objects near it. Imagine floating in the shadow of Jupiter, eclipsed by its massive bulk. The sun is hidden behind it, and all you can see is the faint, glowing halo of its atmosphere, lit from behind by the star. It is a twilight realm, a place of soft, diffused light and deep, comforting shadows. The planet rotates with a speed that seems impossible for its size. Despite being so large, larger than anything else in our family of planets, it spins faster than any of them. A day on Jupiter lasts only about 10 hours. This colossal mountain of gas and liquid spins like a top, whipping its clouds into bands, creating a rhythm of day and night that pulses rapidly. But from where we are drifting, high above the equator, this speed does not feel chaotic. It feels like a steady heartbeat. It is a hum, a vibration that resonates through the vacuum, a low, consistent thrumming of energy. We are witnessing a world that is more than just a ball of gas. It is a failed star, in a poetic sense. Its composition is so similar to the Sun, mostly hydrogen and helium, that if it had been just a little heavier, perhaps 75 times more massive, it might have ignited. It might have become a second sun, turning our solar system into a binary star system, but it stopped short. It remained a planet. It chose the path of the quiet giant rather than the burning star. It settled into a state of warm, dark power, radiating heat from its interior, glowing in the infrared spectrum like a dying coal in a hearth. There is something deeply soothing about this thought. Jupiter is a world that is comfortable with what it is. It does not need to burn with nuclear fire to be magnificent. It is content to be the largest planet, to hold the center, to anchor the gravity of the system. It is a monument to stability. As we prepare to move closer to its surface, to descend into the mesmerizing art of its atmosphere, we take a moment to appreciate the sheer solidity of its presence. In a universe that is often defined by vast empty spaces, Jupiter is something substantial. It is a landmark in the void. It is a place where gravity has gathered material together and held it tight, creating a sphere of order in the middle of chaos. The ancient astronomers looked up and saw a wandering star. We look out and see a world of liquid and gas, a world of diamond rains and metallic oceans, a world that sings with radio waves and dances with the sun. It is the first stop on our journey of giants, and it has welcomed us with its strong, invisible arms. We are safe here, held in the Lagrange of its peace, caught in the gentle wake of its passage through the night. And now, as we drift nearer, the uniform glow of the planet begins to separate into colors. We are beginning to see the bands, the stripes of rust and cream and brown that wrap around the planet like a heavy silken robe. The atmosphere is beckoning us. The great canvas of the winds is waiting to be admired. We let ourselves float downward, surrendering to the pull, ready to lose ourselves in the eternal storms of the cloud tops. The darkness of space is behind us. The warm, amber glow of Jupiter is filling our vision. We are no longer just observers. We are participants in this slow, grand motion. We are drifting into the realm of the painted clouds, where the winds blow with the force of history and the storms spin with the grace of silence. We are drifting closer now, moving from the invisible embrace of gravity into the visible splendor of the atmosphere. As we descend slowly toward the cloud tops, the golden glow of the planet resolves into a landscape of breathtaking complexity. we are no longer looking at a simple sphere of light. We are looking at a tapestry woven from the very breath of the solar system. This is the atmosphere of Jupiter, a masterpiece of fluid dynamics and ancient chemistry that has been swirling in the darkness for billions of years. From our vantage point, floating silently above the equator, the planet looks like a vast, spherical canvas. It is as if a cosmic artist has taken a brush dipped in the colors of the Earth, ochre, burnt sienna, cream and rust, and painted long, elegant strokes across the face of the world. These are not static lines, they are rivers of air, bands of clouds that wrap around the entire circumference of the planet, hugging it tight. They are called zones and belts, lighter and darker ribbons that alternate with a hypnotic regularity. The lighter bands are regions where gas is rising, cooling, and condensing into clouds of ammonia crystals. Imagine tiny glittering crystals of ice suspended in a sea of hydrogen, reflecting the distant light of the sun to create stripes of pale white and soft butter yellow. The darker bands are where the gas is sinking back down into the warmer depths, revealing the deeper, richer layers below. Here, the colors turn to shades of brown and brick red. Like the clay of a riverbed, these bands are moving. If we watch closely, with the patience of a mountain, we can see them sliding past one another. They flow in opposite directions, driven by zonal winds that reach incredible speeds, yet from our distance, there is no violence in this motion. It does not look like a storm. It looks like silk sliding over silk. It is a smooth, continuous flow, a frictionless dance of vapors. The boundaries where these bands meet are regions of soft turbulence, where the colors swirl and mix like cream poured slowly into coffee, creating eddies and spirals that curl and dissolve in slow motion. It is fascinating to think that this entire spectacle, this grand display of planetary beauty, is created by a layer of clouds that is surprisingly thin. In the context of this massive giant, the weather layer we are seeing is only about 50 kilometers deep. It is a delicate skin, wrapping a body of immense power. And the colors themselves are a mystery of chemistry. Deep within the planet, compounds known as chromophores, literally color bearers, are heated by the internal warmth of Jupiter. As they rise, they meet the ultraviolet light of the sun, and a gentle alchemy takes place. The light interacts with the molecules, transforming them, deepening their hues, painting the clouds in shades of red and orange that we can see from millions of kilometers away. It is the sun and the planet working together, creating art on a canvas of gas. As we drift along the equator, carried by the planet's rotation, a great shape begins to emerge on the horizon. It is the most famous feature of Jupiter, the jewel in its crown. It is the Great Red Spot. We approach it slowly, reverently. This is not a transient cloud that forms and fades in an afternoon. This is a storm that has existed for centuries. It has been watching the solar system since the first telescopes on Earth were turned toward the sky in the 1600s. It is an ancient, abiding presence. It is so large that you could take the entire Earth, our mountains, our oceans, our cities, and all our history, and drop it inside this spot, and there would still be room to spare. But tonight, let us not think of it as a storm. Let us think of it as a great, unblinking eye. It is an oval of deep crimson red, sitting quietly in the southern hemisphere, surrounded by the pale white clouds of the neighboring zones. It rotates counterclockwise, turning with a slow, majestic dignity. It takes 6 Earth days for the outer edge of the spot to complete one full rotation. It is a slow, steady pirouette, a wheel turning in the sky. The color of the Great Red Spot is a deep, rich mystery. It varies over time, shifting from a pale salmon pink to a dark, intense brick red, and sometimes fading to almost white. Scientists believe this color comes from the same chromophores we saw in the clouds, but here they are lifted high up into the atmosphere. The Great Red Spot is a region of high pressure, a mountain of gas that rises higher than the surrounding clouds. Because it stands so tall, it catches more of the sun's ultraviolet light, deepening its sunburn, intensifying its redness. It is a plateau in the sky, a lonely island of red in a sea of white and brown. As we hover above it, we can see the intricate details of its structure. It is not a solid block of color, it is a spiral. Darker streaks curve inward toward the center, like the petals of a giant rose. The center of the spot is calmer, a quiet heart in the midst of the rotation. It is a place of stillness, surrounded by the gentle, turning walls of wind. For a long time, we thought this spot was eternal, but we have noticed that it is changing. It is shrinking very slowly, becoming smaller and rounder as the decades pass. But even as it changes, it remains the dominant feature of the Jovian face, a testament to stability in a fluid world. It reminds us that even in a place made of gas and wind, there are things that endure, things that hold their shape against the flow of time. Drifting past the Great Red Spot, we might notice a smaller companion. This is a storm known as Red Spot Jr. It is a younger sibling, formed from the merger of three smaller white storms between the years 1998 and 2000. We can imagine these three smaller storms drifting toward each other, merging their energies and quietly transforming. As they joined, they too began to turn red, mimicking the color of their giant neighbor. It is a quiet evolution, a slow-motion birth of a new feature. This smaller red spot drifts along its own path, occasionally passing the Great Red Spot. They do not collide, they simply nod to one another. Two vast cyclonic systems passing in the night, sharing the same sky but walking different paths. The entire surface of Jupiter is a study in fluid motion. Everywhere we look, we see circles and swirls, eddies and waves. There is no solid ground here to break the wind, no mountains to interrupt the flow. The atmosphere is free to move as it pleases, governed only by the laws of physics and the rotation of the planet. And Jupiter rotates quickly, spinning on its axis once every 10 hours. This rapid rotation stretches the clouds, pulling them into the long, straight lines we see. But because the planet is not solid, it does not spin all at once. The equator spins a little faster than the poles, a fluid differential that adds to the complex sliding motion of the bands. Let us imagine for a moment that we can hear the sound of this atmosphere. It would not be a roar. The distance is too great, the air too thin at the top. It would be a low, resonant hum. It is the sound of 1 billion tons of air moving in unison, a deep, basso profundo vibration that you feel in your chest rather than hear with your ears. It is the song of the planet, a lullaby of wind and rotation that has been playing for 4 billion years without a pause. The beauty of Jupiter's atmosphere is that it is both chaotic and orderly. The storms swirl and twist, yet the bands remain fixed in their latitudes. The Great Red Spot wanders slightly, but it stays within its lane. There is a structure to this world, a hidden framework that holds the gas in place. It is a balance between the heat rising from the deep interior and the sunlight falling from above, a balance between the rapid spin of the day and the cooling of the night. As we gaze at these painted clouds, we can let our own thoughts dissolve into them. The patterns are hypnotic. They repeat and vary, swirl and straighten, in a way that captures the mind and quiets the internal noise. Watching Jupiter is like watching a fire in a hearth or the flow of a river. It is a natural motion that requires nothing from us. We do not need to understand the fluid dynamics to be soothed by them. We only need to watch. The colors are softening now. The bright whites of the ammonia clouds are dimming as we drift toward the terminator line, the boundary between day and night. The shadows are lengthening, stretching across the cloud tops. The brick red of the great spot turns to a deep velvet burgundy. The ochre bands turn to chocolate and charcoal. The planet is turning away from the sun, carrying us into the night side. Here, in the shadow of the giant, the atmosphere takes on a different kind of beauty. Without the glare of the sun, the textures become more subtle. We can see the depth of the clouds, the way they layer over one another. We can sense the immense volume of the atmosphere below us. We are floating on the roof of a world that has no floor. Beneath these clouds, there is only more gas, getting denser and warmer, stretching down for thousands of kilometers. We are safe here, floating in the vacuum, insulated from the pressures below. We are merely visitors, admiring the ceiling of the Jovian palace. The view is serene. The sliding bands are like the slow, rhythmic breathing of a sleeping giant. Inhale, and the white clouds rise. Exhale, and the brown clouds sink. Inhale, exhale. The planet breathes in a rhythm that is slower than a heartbeat, deeper than an ocean. As we prepare to leave the surface view and dive deeper into the mysteries of the interior, take one last look at the great red spot. It is receding behind us now, fading into the twilight. It looks peaceful, a solitary watcher in the dark. It has seen the birth of moons and the passing of comets. It will be there long after we have finished our journey tonight. It is a comfort to know that such things exist, vast, slow, and enduring, spinning silently in the depths of space. We are ready now to sink, not in body, but in mind. We are ready to let our imagination drift down through the layers, past the ammonia clouds, past the ammonium hydrosulfide crystals, down into the places where the gas becomes heavy, where the light fades, and where the true heart of Jupiter awaits. The painted canvas is beautiful, but the structure that holds it up is even more wondrous. We are moving toward the hidden deep. We have watched the clouds drift by, admiring the painted face of the giant. But now, we must close our eyes to the light of the sun and let our imagination sink deeper. We are going to travel where no spacecraft has ever gone, and where no human eye will ever see. We are going to drift down through the layers of mist and shadow into the hidden heart of Jupiter. On a rocky planet like Earth, if you descend through the clouds, you eventually meet the ground. You find a solid place to stand, a definitive end to the sky. But Jupiter is a creature of a different nature. Here, there is no sudden stop. There is no crash of landing. As we sink below the ammonia clouds, the atmosphere simply grows thicker. The mist becomes denser, wrapping around us like a heavy, warm blanket. The light from the sun above fades slowly, turning from bright white to a dim twilight blue, and finally into a deep, velvety darkness. We are entering the realm of the interior. Here, the boundaries between air and ocean blur and dissolve. If you were falling through this atmosphere, you would not notice the moment you entered the liquid layer. The gas simply becomes heavier and heavier until, imperceptibly, you are floating in a fluid. It is a seamless transition, a gentle shift from the freedom of the sky to the embrace of the deep. We are now drifting in an ocean of liquid hydrogen. It is vast beyond comprehension. Imagine an ocean that does not cover just a surface, but one that fills the entire bulk of a planet. It is dark here, but it is not cold. As we sink deeper, the temperature rises. Jupiter radiates heat from its core, a remnant of its formation billions of years ago. This internal warmth permeates the fluid, creating a sensation of being held in a womb of immense proportions. The pressure around us is colossal, but in our dream state, it does not crush. It merely holds. It presses in from all sides a uniform, comforting weight that grounds us in the center of the world. As we continue our descent, reaching depths of thousands of kilometers, the hydrogen around us undergoes a miraculous transformation. Under the crushing weight of the planet above, the atoms are squeezed so tightly together. The liquid hydrogen becomes metallic. This is something we rarely see on Earth, a state of matter that exists only in the hearts of giants. Imagine a sea of liquid metal. It is not like water anymore. It is a dense, swirling fluid that conducts electricity like a copper wire. This is the mantle of Jupiter. It is a place of absolute darkness, yet it is alive with energy. In this metallic ocean, currents flow and churn, driven by the heat rising from below and the rapid rotation of the planet. These are slow, powerful movements, the deep circulation of the planet's lifeblood. It is here, in this crushing dark, that the true magic of Jupiter happens. This swirling liquid metal, as the planet spins and as the metal churns, it generates a magnetic field of staggering power. This is the magnetosphere of Jupiter. It is 14 times stronger than the magnetic field of Earth. It is the strongest magnetic field of any planet in the solar system, second only to the sunspots of the star itself. We cannot see this field with our eyes, but we can feel its presence. It is an invisible structure, a vast protective cage that surrounds the planet and extends millions of kilometers out into space. It is a shield. It catches the solar wind, the stream of charged particles flying from the sun, and guides it, channeling it toward the poles. It is a silent conductor, orchestrating the energy of the solar system. If we were to float back up, rising through the metallic ocean, through the liquid hydrogen, and back out into the clarity of space, we would see the result of this magnetic power. High above the poles of Jupiter, the sky is alight with auroras. But unlike the gentle, wavering curtains of green we see on Earth, these lights are immense and permanent. They glow with ultraviolet energy, a halo of light crowning the giant. They are the visual song of the magnetic field, a testament to the churning ocean deep below. And nestled within this protective sphere, safe inside the magnetosphere, Jupiter does not travel alone. It is accompanied by a retinue of moons, a collection of worlds that circle it like faithful companions. There are 67 known natural satellites here, a miniature solar system in its own right. But there are 4 that stand out, 4 that have been watching Jupiter since the beginning. These are the Galilean moons: Io, Europa, Ganymede, and Callisto. Let us drift outward a little, away from the gravity of the planet, to gaze at these sleeping children. Closest to the giant is Io. It is a world of fire and contrast, caught in a gravitational tug-of-war. But from a distance, it looks peaceful. A colorful marble of yellow and orange orbiting swiftly. It passes through the most intense part of Jupiter's magnetic field, bathed in a river of radiation and energy. It is a brave little moon, glowing in the dark, tethered to its master by an invisible chain of gravity. Next is Europa. It is a world of ice, a smooth white sphere that shines like a polished pearl. Its surface is cracked with lines like a fragile eggshell. But beneath that frozen crust lies a secret. Scientists believe there is a liquid ocean of water hidden there, warm and vast, protected from the cold of space by the thick ice above. It is a silent, dark aquarium, waiting in the stillness. Europa reminds us that even in the coldest places, there is the potential for warmth and depth. Then there is Ganymede. It is the king of moons, the largest satellite in the entire solar system. It is so massive that it is bigger even than the planet Mercury. If it orbited the Sun on its own, it would be considered a planet, but it is content to orbit Jupiter, adding its mass to the retinue of the giant. It is a world of rock and ice, ancient and scarred, a wise elder among the moons. And finally, furthest out is Callisto. It is the most heavily cratered object we know, a record keeper of the solar system's history. Every impact, every stone that has struck it over billions of years is preserved on its surface. It orbits quietly, far from the intense radiation belts, in a peaceful, lonely path. It is a witness to the eons, watching the slow dance of Jupiter without interference. These moons do not orbit randomly. They move in a rhythmic resonance, a precise celestial choreography. For every time Ganymede orbits once, Europa orbits twice, and Io orbits 4 times. It is a perfect ratio of 1 to 2 to 4. They are locked in a gravitational harmony, a repeating pattern that keeps time in the darkness. Tick, tock, tick, tock. The clockwork of the moons turns slowly, driven by the same gravity that holds the atmosphere in place. As we float here, suspended between the giant planet and its orbiting family, we feel a profound sense of safety. The magnetosphere of Jupiter acts like a bubble, pushing back the solar wind, creating a safe harbor in the emptiness of space. The moons are protected here, tucked within the magnetic wings of the mother planet. They do not need strong magnetic fields of their own, for Jupiter provides enough for all of them. We realize now that Jupiter is not just a ball of gas. It is a system. It is a protector. It is a warm heart beating in the cold outer solar system. It is an anchor that holds its family together with the invisible, unbreakable bonds of gravity and magnetism. We have seen the painted clouds. We have imagined the metallic depths. We have watched the moons turn in their silent orbits. We have felt the immense presence of the King of Planets. And now, it is time to let Jupiter drift behind us. It is time to let its gravity loosen its hold, just enough to let us float onward. We turn our gaze away from the amber glow, back toward the deep, star-studded blackness. Ahead of us, another wonder awaits. Far in the distance, shining with a pale golden light, is the jewel of the solar system. It is smaller than Jupiter, but it wears a crown that no other planet can rival. We are drifting away from the anchor, moving deeper into the night. The hum of Jupiter's magnetic field fades into a whisper. The warmth of its radiation gently cools. We are returning to the silence of the void, floating effortlessly toward the realm of the rings. Let your mind rest in this transition. Feel the lightness of your body as you leave the heavy gravity behind. You are a traveler of the drift, moving slowly, peacefully, from one wonder to the next. There is no rush. The stars are not going anywhere. The planets are patient. As Jupiter recedes, becoming a bright star in our rear view, we look forward. The silence is deepening again. We are ready for the next chapter of our journey. We are ready to witness the most elegant structure in the heavens. We are drifting towards Saturn. The amber glow of Jupiter has faded into the distance, becoming a bright, steady star behind us. We are drifting again, moving through the deep, quiet gap between the giants. The journey here is long, for space is vast, but in our state of relaxation, distance is not a barrier. It is merely a pause, a breath between one wonder and the next. The silence around us is absolute. It is a clean, pure silence that cleanses the mind, washing away the noise of the world we left behind. And then, rising from the darkness ahead, we see it. It is the most iconic sight in the heavens. It is the jewel of the solar system. It is Saturn. If Jupiter was the king, commanding and heavy, then Saturn is the queen, elegant and radiant. As we approach, the first thing that strikes us is the light. It is softer here, a pale golden yellow hue that feels warm and inviting. But it is not the planet itself that captures our hearts. It is the crown it wears. Circling the equator of this vast floating world is a system of rings so perfect, so wide and so bright that they seem almost artificial, as if they were drawn by a compass on the dark paper of space. We are about to enter the realm of the rings. From a distance, the rings look like a solid sheet of material, a flat, gleaming disk of silver and gold. But as we float closer, slowing our speed to match the gentle rotation of the planet, the illusion of solidity begins to dissolve. We realize that we are not looking at a solid object at all. We are looking at a river. These rings are made of billions upon billions of individual particles. They are mostly water ice, ranging in size from tiny grains of dust, no larger than flour, to massive boulders the size of a house, or even a mountain. They are pure, reflective ice, capturing the distant sunlight and scattering it back into the void. Imagine a snowstorm that has been caught in a circle, frozen in time and stretched out into a thin, shimmering veil that spans thousands of kilometers. We drift right up to the edge of the main rings. Up close, the view is mesmerizing. It is a sea of ice, moving in a silent, synchronized dance. Every single particle, every snowflake, and every ice boulder is a tiny moon in its own right, orbiting Saturn in its own lane. There is no chaos here, only a complex, flowing order. They move together, a vast granular stream that flows around the planet like water flowing around a stone. Scientists tell us that these rings are surprisingly young. While Saturn itself is over 4 billion years old, an ancient elder of the system, the rings may have formed much more recently, perhaps in the last 100 million years. In the timeline of the cosmos, they are new. They are a temporary gift. It is thought that they are slowly draining away, raining down into the atmosphere of Saturn under the pull of gravity. In another 100 million years, they might be gone. This thought adds a layer of poignancy to our view. We are fortunate travelers, arriving at just the right moment in history to witness this glory. We are seeing a fleeting masterpiece, a temporary splash of beauty in the long, dark story of the universe. As we glide over the surface of the rings, we notice that they are not perfectly smooth. There are patterns here, textures in the ice. We see ripples and waves, spirals that wind through the rings like grooves on a vinyl record. These are density waves created by the gravity of the moons and the planet itself. They are echoes of gravity, frozen in ice. And this brings us to one of the most enchanting secrets of Saturn. The rings are not left alone to wander. They are tended to. Hidden within the rings and orbiting just outside them are small, special moons. We call them the shepherd moons. These are not the giant worlds like Titan or Rhea. These are small, humble guardians, silent workers that maintain the order of the rings. They use their gravity not to destroy, but to shape, to guide, and to prune the edges of the ring system. They are the gardeners of this icy paradise. Let us drift toward the outer edge of the main rings, to the A-ring, to find one of these shepherds. Here, we encounter a moon named Atlas. Atlas is a peculiar and delightful little world. It is about 40 kilometers wide, but it is not round like a ball. It is shaped like a flying saucer or a smooth, flattened disk. As we float near it, we can see why. Atlas orbits right at the edge of the rings. As it travels, it gently gathers dust and ice particles that have strayed too far. This material accumulates around its equator, building up over eons, smoothing out its surface. The surface of Atlas is remarkably smooth. There are almost no impact craters here, which makes it look bizarrely pristine compared to the battered face of our own moon. It looks soft, as if it has been wrapped in a thick blanket of snow. And in a way, it has. It is wrapped in the dust of the rings, sculpted by its journey, a silent sentinel that has been smoothed by the very flock it guards. Drifting further inward, into a dark lane within the rings known as the Anchor Gap, we find another shepherd. This is Pan. Pan is a small moon, only about 30 kilometers wide, and it too has a strange, saucer-like shape. It lives inside the gap, a clear, dark channel in the bright expanse of the rings. Its job is to keep this channel open. As Pan orbits, its gravity sweeps up any ring particles that drift into its path. It clears the lane, pushing material back into place, or claiming it for itself. It keeps the Anchor Gap steady and constant, a dark river of emptiness flowing through the white sea of ice. Pan is a lonely traveler, forever walking its path in the canyon it has carved for itself, ensuring that the structure of the rings remains perfect. And then, there is the most poetic of them all. Let us move to the Keeler Gap, a very narrow slice of darkness near the outer edge of the A-ring. Here resides a tiny moon named Daphnis. Daphnis is small, only about 8 kilometers in diameter. It is barely a speck against the backdrop of the giant planet, but its influence is beautiful. As Daphnis orbits within its narrow gap, its gravity is weak, yet it is just strong enough to reach out and touch the edges of the rings on either side. It acts like a finger dragging through water. As it passes, it pulls the icy particles toward it, creating waves. These are not just flat ripples. They are three-dimensional waves that rise up above the plane of the rings and dip down below it. Because the sun strikes the rings at a shallow angle, These vertical waves cast long, dramatic shadows across the ice. Imagine sitting on the surface of Daphnis. You would see walls of ice rising up on either side of you, towering cliffs of ring particles. And as you traveled, you would see a wave traveling with you. A ripple of motion that follows your path forever. It is a wake, a disturbance in the stillness. Daphnis is an artist, sculpting the edges of the gap into a scalloped pattern, weaving a texture into the fabric of the rings. It reminds us that even the smallest object, with the gentlest gravity, can change the shape of the world around it. These shepherd moons are the unsung heroes of Saturn's beauty. Without them, the rings might spread out and dissipate, losing their sharp, defined edges. But thanks to Atlas, Pan, Daphnis, and others, the rings are held in check. They are herded. They are cared for. It is a system of mutual reliance, a delicate balance between the particles of ice and the gravity of the moons. The view from here, hovering amongst the shepherds, is unlike anything else in the cosmos. Below us, the golden clouds of Saturn stretch out endlessly. Above us, the black vault of space is pierced by the bright, diamond-hard light of the sun. And all around us is the glittering, flowing river of the rings. It is quiet here. There is no wind to whistle through the ice. There is no sound of crashing. The collisions between ring particles are slow and gentle, more like a nudge than a smash. The entire system is moving with a fluid grace. We can feel the rhythm of it, a slow, steady pulse that has been beating for millions of years. As we look deeper into the rings, we see hints of other structures. We see spiral density waves, tightly wound like the springs of a clock. These spirals are actually similar to the spiral arms of galaxies, but here they are tightly coiled, wrapping around the planet many times. They are waves of compression moving through the ice, creating bands of higher density that look like separate rings, but are actually part of one continuous structure. In some places we can see propellers. These are tiny disturbances in the rings, shaped like the blades of a propeller. They are caused by moonlets, tiny objects that are not quite big enough to clear a gap like Pan or Daphnis, but are big enough to flick the dust around them. They are baby moons, struggling to form, struggling to clear a space for themselves in the crowded river. They are the seeds of worlds hidden in the ice. The rings of Saturn are a laboratory of gravity, a place where we can watch the fundamental forces of the universe at play. But tonight, we do not need to analyze them. We only need to feel them. We need to feel the immense, calming presence of this ring system. It is a halo of light in the darkness, a symbol of order and harmony. We drift slowly along the edge of the F-ring, the thin, braided ring that lies outside the main system. Here, the particles seem to weave in and out of each other, creating knots and clumps. It is a delicate, fragile thing, held together by the invisible hands of its own shepherd moons, Prometheus and Pandora. It looks like a wisp of smoke, frozen in a circle. As we prepare to leave the immediate vicinity of the rings and explore the wider Saturnian system, we take a moment to look back at the planet itself. Saturn is light. It is the least dense of all the planets. In fact, if you could find a bathtub large enough to hold it, Saturn would float. It is a world of gas and fluff, a giant bubble of hydrogen and helium. This lightness gives it a feeling of buoyancy, as if it is suspended effortlessly in the void. The combination of the ethereal floating planet and the sharp crystalline precision of the rings creates a sense of surreal peace. It is a dreamscape, a place where the heavy laws of reality seem to be suspended. We are floating in a gallery of ice and light, and there is no admission fee. Only the willingness to close your eyes and drift. We are ready now to move further out. We have met the shepherds of the rings, but there are other dancers in this ballroom. There are moons that swap places, and moons that spray water into the stars. The Celestial Waltz is about to continue. We turn our gaze away from the mesmerizing flow of the ice and look toward the outer orbits, where the larger mysteries await. We have spent time drifting along the frozen rivers of the main rings, watching the shepherd moons tend to their icy flocks. But now, the gravity of Saturn beckons us further outward. We are moving away from the dense, bright ribbons of the A-ring, floating toward the quieter, deeper spaces of the Saturnian system. Here, the silence feels different. It is not the silence of a crowded room like the rings, where billions of particles jostle together. It is the silence of the open void, a vast black stage where celestial bodies perform a dance that spans eons. In this deep quiet, we encounter a story of partnership that is unique in the solar system. It is the story of two moons, Janus and Epimetheus. Imagine two dancers on a circular track. Usually, in the laws of celestial mechanics, every moon has its own lane, its own specific orbit, where it travels alone, safe from collision. But Janus and Epimetheus are different. They share the same home. They orbit Saturn at almost exactly the same distance, separated by only a whisper of space in cosmic terms. They are co-orbital moons, eternal companions running a race that never truly ends. As we drift near them, we see that they are not perfect spheres. They are ancient, lumpy worlds, shaped like potatoes, scarred by time, but enduring in their motion. They travel around the planet at slightly different speeds. The inner moon travels faster, slowly catching up to the outer moon. In a chaotic universe, one might expect a collision. One might fear a crash that would shatter these worlds into dust. But here, gravity acts as a gentle negotiator, a force of politeness rather than violence. Every 4 years, the rear moon catches up to the lead moon. As they draw close, something magical happens. They do not touch. Instead, they exchange momentum. The inner moon, running faster, gives up some of its energy to the outer moon, boosting it higher into a slower orbit. At the same time, the inner moon loses energy and sinks into a lower, faster orbit. They effectively trade places. The one that was behind takes the lead, and the one that was ahead falls behind. It is a celestial waltz, a graceful do-si-do performed in the silence of space. They turn to each other, bow, and swap lanes, avoiding collision by the most delicate of margins. This dance has been repeating for millions of years. Swap, drift, catch up, swap again. It is a rhythm of infinite patience. There is no rush to win, only the perpetual motion of the partnership. We can see the evidence of this dance written in the rings themselves. As we look back toward the main rings of Saturn, specifically at the A-ring, we can see spiral density waves. These are ripples in the ice, propagated by the gravity of these moons. Because the moons switch positions every 4 years, the pattern of the waves changes with every switch. The rings respond to the dance, creating a new crest in the wave structure. Scientists tell us that the distance between these wave crests corresponds to 4 years of time, the exact period of the orbital swap. This means that the rings of Saturn act like a vast cosmic record player, or perhaps more poetically, like the trunk of a great tree. Just as a tree grows rings to mark its years, the rings of Saturn encode the history of Janus and Epimetheus. We can look at the waves and count back through the decades, seeing the physical memory of this orbital waltz preserved in ice. It reminds us that nothing in this system happens in isolation. The movement of a moon thousands of kilometers away can draw a pattern in the ice, leaving a signature that lasts for generations. Leaving the dancing pair behind, we turn our gaze to another wonder, one that glows with a pure, brilliant white light against the darkness. We are drifting toward Enceladus. This is a moon that captures the imagination like no other. It is small, much smaller than our own moon, but it is dazzling. Its surface is covered in fresh, clean ice, making it one of the most reflective objects in the solar system. It shines like a polished diamond, reflecting the distant sunlight with a stark, cold beauty. But do not let the frozen surface fool you. Beneath this shell of ice, Enceladus is hiding a warm secret. We drift closer, hovering over the south pole of this snowy world. Here, the ice is fractured by long blue fissures known as tiger stripes. And from these cracks, something miraculous is happening. Silent jets of water vapor and ice particles are erupting into space. These are the plumes of Enceladus. They are cryovolcanoes, volcanoes of ice and water. We watch in awe as the geysers shoot up, reaching hundreds of kilometers into the black sky. There is no sound to this eruption, no rumble of earth, no roar of fire. It is a silent exhalation. The moon is breathing. It is venting the pressure from its internal ocean, releasing water from a subsurface sea that has never seen the light of day. This ocean, hidden beneath kilometers of crust, is global and warm. It is one of the prime candidates in the solar system to contain the conditions for life. We can imagine the dark, salty waters swirling below us, heated by the friction of Saturn's gravity, a hidden cradle where chemistry might be slowly turning into biology. But up here, in the vacuum, the water freezes instantly. As the plumes rise, the vapor crystallizes into microscopic grains of ice. Most of this ice falls back onto the surface, coating the moon in fresh snow, which explains why Enceladus is so bright and white. But some of the lighter particles escape the moon's weak gravity. They drift upward, floating away to join the orbit of Saturn. And as they spread out, they form something beautiful. Enceladus is the creator of the E-ring. The E-ring is not like the dense, flat rings we saw earlier. It is a vast, diffuse torus of fine mist. It is tenuous and ghostly, visible only when backlit by the sun. It is composed entirely of the microscopic ice grains breathed out by Enceladus. As we float through this region, we are drifting through a cloud of frozen ocean spray. It is the bluest, naturally occurring object in the solar system, a ring of ethereal sapphire dust. We can see the connection clearly now. The plumes of Enceladus disturb the ring, adding new material to it constantly, replenishing what is lost. The moon travels within the very ring it creates, wrapped in a blanket of its own making. It is a poetic cycle. The ocean becomes the plume becomes the ring, and the ring encircles the planet. The Cassini spacecraft spent a great deal of time watching this moon, fascinated by its activity. It captured a remarkable time-lapse over a 14-hour period, watching the plumes dance and sway as the moon rotated. We can imagine floating alongside the probe, holding a vigil in the dark, watching the fountains of Enceladus rise and fall like the breathing of a sleeping god. There is a profound sense of peace in knowing that this activity is happening right now, at this very moment. Far away, in the quiet reaches of the solar system, water is flowing. Ice is forming. A moon is creating a ring. It happens without human intervention, without noise, and without fanfare. It is simply the nature of the universe to be active, to be creative, even in the depths of the cold. As we linger here in the E-ring, surrounded by the faint blue haze, we feel a sense of lightness. We are floating in a cloud of diamond dust. The heavy gravity of Jupiter feels like a distant memory. The sharp edges of the main rings are far away. Here, everything is soft, diffuse, and dreamlike. We are drifting through the breath of a moon. We are witnessing the connection between the hidden deep and the open sky. The water that once flowed in the dark ocean is now a part of the stars, catching the sunlight and scattering it into the void. Let yourself rest in this image. Visualize the slow, silent eruption of the geysers. See the particles floating up, defying gravity, turning into a glittering mist. Feel the coolness of the scene, the tranquility of a world where the only movement is the slow drift of ice. Enceladus teaches us that even the smallest worlds can have a big impact. It teaches us that beauty can be found in the most unexpected places, in the cracks of the ice, in the spray of a cold volcano. It is a small, bright beacon of hope and wonder in the vast Saturnian system. But the journey is not over. Saturn has more to show us. We must leave the blue mist of the E-ring and turn our attention back toward the planet itself. There are mysteries waiting in the atmosphere, shapes that defy logic, and sounds that echo through the radio spectrum. We are ready to dive back inward toward the North Pole of the giant. We are ready to witness the geometry of the storm. Let the white light of Enceladus fade behind you. Let the blue veil of the ring dissolve into the black. We are turning, drifting, moving slowly back toward the golden clouds. We leave the sparkling mists of Enceladus behind, allowing the blue veil of the E-ring to fade into the velvet darkness. We are turning our gaze back to the great golden sphere of Saturn. As we drift closer, rising high above the plane of the rings, we are drawn toward the top of the world. We are approaching the North Pole. Here, the planet reveals one of its most mesmerizing secrets. It is a shape that seems almost impossible in a universe of spheres and spirals. It is a hexagon. Floating directly above the pole, looking down, we see it clearly. It is a perfect six-sided polygon, etched into the clouds with a geometric precision that defies explanation. It is colossal. The sides of this shape are longer than the diameter of Earth itself. You could place our entire home planet comfortably inside this storm, and there would still be room for the winds to wander. But in our peaceful state, we do not see this as a storm. We see it as a vast, slowly turning flower. It is a rose of clouds, blooming in the eternal cold of the upper atmosphere. In the very center, there is a dark eye, a polar vortex that acts as the heart of the shape. Around it, the winds flow in a steady, rhythmic hexagon, maintaining their sharp corners even as they spin at hundreds of kilometers per hour. It is a standing wave, a pattern of resonance that has found a perfect equilibrium. It does not shift its longitude. It stays fixed, rotating in sync with the deep interior of the planet. It is a symbol of order emerging from chaos. In the wild, swirling atmosphere of a gas giant, nature has found a way to draw a straight line. As we watch, we notice the colors. The hexagon changes with the slow, long seasons of Saturn. When the Cassini spacecraft first arrived, The north was in winter, and the hexagon was a deep, cool blue, hidden in the shadow. But as the Saturnian year progressed, a year that lasts 29 Earth years, the pole tilted toward the sun. The sunlight warmed the atmosphere, interacting with the haze, and the hexagon slowly turned from blue to a warm golden gold. It is a slow-motion transformation, a changing of the guard that takes decades to complete. It reminds us that here, patience is the only clock that matters. And speaking of clocks, Saturn holds a deep mystery about time itself. As we drift alongside this giant, we might ask a simple question. How long is a day on Saturn? On Earth, the answer is simple. We watch the sun rise and set. We watch the ground beneath our feet turn once every 24 hours. But Saturn has no solid ground. There is no rock to stand on, no mountain peak to track against the stars. There are only clouds, and the clouds are restless. They drift and flow, pushed by the winds, moving at different speeds depending on their latitude. If you tried to measure the day by watching the clouds, you would get 1,000 different answers. For a long time, the true heartbeat of Saturn was hidden from us. It was a riddle wrapped in a golden fog. To solve it, scientists tried to listen to the planet. They listened for the radio waves that pulse from the magnetic field. You see, deep inside Saturn, the metallic ocean we imagined on Jupiter also exists. It churns and swirls, generating a magnetic field. And as the core rotates, this magnetic field sweeps through space like the beam of a lighthouse. Every time the beam sweeps past a spacecraft, we should hear a pulse. That pulse should tell us exactly how fast the heart of the planet is beating. But Saturn, the Lord of the Rings, does not like to follow the rules. When the Voyager spacecraft flew by in the 1980s, it measured a day of roughly 10 hours, 39 minutes, and 23 seconds. But when Cassini arrived decades later, the rhythm had changed. The pulse had slowed down. It drifted by about 1%. It was as if the planet itself was slowing down or breathing differently. But a planet as massive as Saturn cannot simply change its spin so easily. It was an illusion. The atmosphere was playing a trick on us. The winds and the plasma in the upper layers were slipping, sliding over the core, creating a cloaking shimmer that distorted the signal. The radio song was beautiful, rising and falling in intensity, but it was an unreliable narrator. The true length of the day remained a secret, hidden beneath the shifting layers of gas. There is another strangeness here, a mystery of alignment that makes Saturn unique. On Earth and on Jupiter, the magnetic poles are tilted. They are not perfectly lined up with the rotation of the planet. They wobble. This wobble is what allows the dynamo to work, according to our theories. But on Saturn, the magnetic axis and the rotation axis are perfectly aligned. They are matched to an accuracy of less than 0.1 degrees. It is a state of perfect symmetry. But the magnetic field stands straight up, totally parallel to the spin. By all the logic of our physics, this should be impossible. A perfectly aligned dynamo should eventually die out. And yet, Saturn's magnetic field is strong and alive. In our sleepy state, we can interpret this not as a problem, but as a sign of supreme balance. Saturn is a planet of Zen. It has achieved a harmony that other worlds have not. It spins with a perfect posture, its magnetic soul aligned flawlessly with its physical body. It defies our expectations simply by being too perfect. So, How did we finally find the answer to the length of the day? If the clouds were too fast and the radio song was too wavering, where could we look? The answer lay in the rings. We turn our gaze back to that magnificent sheet of ice. We realized that the rings were not just decoration. They were a listening device. They were a seismograph. As Saturn spins, its gravity is not perfectly uniform. The planet is slightly squashed, and its interior is churning. This creates tiny gravitational tugs that pull on the rings. These tugs create waves, spiral ripples that travel through the ice particles. By looking closely at these waves, measuring the distance between them, and listening to the subtle vibrations of the ring system, we could hear the true rotation of the planet. The rings were feeling the heartbeat of Saturn. They were trembling in time with the deep, rocky core, impervious to the shifting winds of the atmosphere. And finally, the rings gave us the answer. A day on Saturn is 10 hours, 33 minutes, and 38 seconds. It is a precise number, plucked from the silence. It is a fast day, a rapid spin for such a giant world. But knowing it brings a sense of resolution. The mystery is solved, not by probing the planet with force, but by watching the gentle ripples in the ice. It reminds us that sometimes the answers we seek are reflected in the things around us, if we only take the time to look. The mystery of time on Saturn is a reminder that nature operates on its own terms. It has rhythms that are hidden, pulses that are cloaked in shimmer and shadow. But there is always a pattern, there is always a logic, buried deep within the chaos. As we drift here, suspended in the 1-0 day, we feel the soothing repetition of the spin. The planet turns. The hexagon turns. The rings turn. It is a cosmic mobile hanging above the crib of the solar system, spinning slowly to lull the universe to sleep. The radio waves continue to sing their shifting song, a melody of radiation that rises and falls. We cannot hear it with our ears, but we can imagine it as a soft, electronic hum, a background noise that fills the void. It is the sound of the planet talking to itself, whispering secrets to its moons. We have lingered long enough at the pole. We have admired the geometry of the hexagon and solved the riddle of the day. But our time with Saturn is drawing to a close. There is one final chapter in this planet's story that we must honor. It is a story of a traveler from Earth who became a part of this world forever. We are preparing for the grand finale. Let the golden light of the hexagon imprint itself on your memory. A shape of perfect order in a world of gas. Let the rhythm of the 1-0 hour day settle into your breathing. Fast but steady. Constant. Reliable. We are drifting away from the pole now, moving down toward the gap between the planet and the rings. We are following in the footsteps of a ghost. We are tracing the path of the Cassini spacecraft, the devoted Voyager that gave us all these images, all these facts, all these dreams. The atmosphere below us is waiting. The rings above us are watching. The stage is set for the final dive. We have spent our time marveling at the rings, dancing with the moons, and listening to the rhythmic heartbeat of the planet's rotation. But every story has a final chapter, and for Saturn, that chapter is written not in stone, but in the wind. It is the story of a visitor from Earth, a brave little robotic explorer named Cassini, who spent 13 years circling this magnificent world. To us, drifting here in the safety of our imagination, Cassini is more than just a collection of metal and sensors. It is a devoted companion. It was our eyes and our ears in the dark. It traveled 7 billion kilometers across the cold void to reach this place. It slid into orbit and stayed, watching the seasons change, watching the storms bloom and fade, watching the shadows of the rings lengthen and shorten over the years. It was a faithful witness to the majesty of the Saturnian system. But all journeys must change. As the years passed, Cassini began to grow tired. Its supply of propellant, the fuel it used to adjust its path and turn its gaze, was running low. The scientists back on Earth, the caretakers of this distant traveler, faced a difficult choice. They could leave the spacecraft to drift forever in orbit, a silent ghost, haunting the rings. But there was a risk. If Cassini drifted uncontrolled, it might one day crash. It might crash into Enceladus, the moon of the hidden ocean, or into Titan, the moon of the thick atmosphere. These are pristine worlds, biologically interesting places that might harbor the delicate seeds of life. To protect these moons, to ensure that they would never be contaminated by microbes from Earth that might have stowed away on the spacecraft, the decision was made to end the mission with a final, purposeful act. Cassini would not be left to wander. Instead, it would be gifted to the planet itself. It would be sent on a final trajectory, a grand finale that would bring it closer to Saturn than ever before, and finally, into the embrace of the atmosphere. This was not a decision of destruction, but of romance. It was a fitting end to a thrilling story of discovery. It was a chance to trade longevity for intimacy, to trade the safety of distance for the unprecedented beauty of closeness. And so, the grand finale began. It started with a series of daring maneuvers. Cassini used the gravity of the giant moon Titan to sling itself into a new path. It climbed high above the North Pole, looking down at the great hexagon one last time, and then it plunged. It leaped over the main rings and dived into the narrow, unexplored region between the planet and the inner edge of the rings. This region is known as the Gap. For decades, we had wondered what it would be like to fly here. It is a canyon of emptiness, a clear zone between the golden cloud tops below and the spinning sheet of ice above. It is a place of solitude and danger, filled with the unknown. But Cassini found it to be a place of breathtaking wonder. Imagine drifting with the spacecraft through this gap. You are moving at incredible speed, yet the sheer scale of the surroundings makes it feel like a slow, dreamlike glide. Above you, the rings stretch out like a vast, translucent ceiling, blocking the sun, casting intricate striped shadows across the clouds. Below you, the planet fills the entire field of view, a rolling ocean of ammonia and hydrogen, endless and deep. You are flying in the belly of the giant, tucked safely between the hammer and the anvil of gravity. Cassini performed this dive 22 times. 22 times it swooped down, skimming the edge of the atmosphere, tasting the dust, feeling the magnetic field, mapping the gravity with a precision that had never been possible before. It was a waltz of daredevil grace. With each dive, it grew closer. With each loop, it learned more. It saw the noodles of the F-ring, the clumping particles, the strange textures of the clouds near the equator. It was the ultimate exploration, a series of intimate encounters with the object of its study. And then came the final day. September 15th, 2017. The propellant was nearly gone. The time had come to close the book. Cassini turned its antenna toward Earth, one last time, to beam back its final testimony. It was not taking pictures anymore. The data transmission speed was needed for something more immediate. It was tasting the atmosphere. It was sniffing the gas. It was touching the planet. We watch now, in our mind's eye, as the spacecraft begins its final descent. It is moving fast, traveling at 123,000 kilometers per hour. But let us slow this moment down. Let us remove the violence of the speed and focus on the merging of the materials. Cassini hits the tenuous upper layers of the atmosphere. It is roughly 1,900 kilometers above the visible cloud tops. The air here is thin, like a whisper, but at such speed, it feels like a gentle hand pushing back. The spacecraft begins to feel the warmth. The friction of the air against the metal skin generates heat. It is a warming embrace, a signal that the planet is welcoming the traveler home. The thrusters fire. Small bursts of gas push against the tumble, fighting to keep the antenna locked on Earth. It is a heroic effort. The spacecraft is struggling to stay upright, struggling to keep the connection alive for just 1 second longer, to send just one more byte of data across the billion-kilometer divide. It is the dedication of a machine that has transcended its programming. Deeper it falls. The sky around it turns from the black of space to a glowing incandescent blue. The atmosphere grows thicker, denser. The thrusters fire at maximum capacity, but the force of the wind is too great. The gentle hand of Saturn becomes a firm grip. The spacecraft begins to tumble. The connection to Earth is severed. The radio signal, which had been a constant hum for 2 decades, goes silent. But this is not the end. It is only the beginning of the transformation. As Cassini tumbles into the deepening clouds, the heat rises. The metal begins to glow. It softens. It melts. The structure of the ship, the aluminum and the gold foil, the sensors and the cameras, all of it begins to dissolve. It is not burning up in a destructive fire. It is disintegrating into light. It is becoming a meteor, a streak of brilliance flashing through the Saturnian sky. For a brief moment, Cassini becomes a star in the atmosphere of a planet. It shines with the light of its own dissolution, and then the light fades. The atoms that made up the spacecraft, the carbon, the silicon, the metal, drift apart. They are released into the winds. Think of it. The material of the probe, which was mined from the Earth, shaped by human hands, and launched from the coast of Florida, is now a part of Saturn. The atoms of Cassini are now floating in the great white spot. They are drifting in the hexagon. They are raining down toward the metallic ocean deep below. Cassini has become part of the planet it loved. It is a beautiful union. The observer and the observed have become one. The separation is gone. Cassini is no longer orbiting Saturn. Cassini is Saturn. It is resting in the mustard-colored clouds, held in the suspension of the eternal winds. It is safe there. It will never crash. It will never run out of fuel. It will simply exist forever as a trace element in the composition of a giant. Back on Earth, the signal stopped arriving 1.5 hours later due to the travel time of light. The screens went black, but the silence was not empty. It was filled with gratitude. It was filled with the knowledge that the mission was a total success. The data collected in those final moments, the measurements of the atmosphere, the ionosphere, the dust, is still being analyzed today. The legacy of the traveler lives on in the thousands of research papers, in the maps we have drawn, and in the dreams of the children who watched it fall. And so, we bid farewell to Saturn. We leave it now, with its rings spinning in the silence, its moons dancing their waltz, and its new companion dissolved into its clouds. We pull back, drifting further and further away. The jewel of the solar system shrinks in our vision. The gold fades to a pale yellow dot. The rings merge into the planet's glow. We are returning to the deep, open ocean of space. The darkness here is absolute. The sun is just a bright star now, smaller than we have ever seen it. The warmth is fading. We are entering the realm of the ice giants. The journey continues. We have visited the king and the queen. Now we must travel to the strange, sleeping magicians of the outer rim. We are setting our course for a world that rolls on its side, a world of turquoise light and long, long shadows. Prepare your mind for the cold. Prepare your spirit for the stillness. We are drifting toward Uranus. We have watched the golden light of Saturn fade. The magnificent rings, once a grand highway of ice filling our vision, have shrunk to a mere sliver of silver in the distance. We are moving deeper into the dark, venturing into the outer reaches of the solar system, where the sun is no longer a blazing furnace, but a bright, piercing star, a distant lantern that offers more light than heat. The journey from Saturn to the next world is long, spanning billions of kilometers of empty, silent void. But in our drift, time holds no meaning. We are patient travelers, carried by the gentle momentum of our curiosity, and then, emerging from the deep shadows of the outer rim, we see it. It is a sphere of pure, pale blue. It is not the deep, turbulent indigo of the ocean, nor is it the bright, cloudy white of the inner worlds. It is a soft, ethereal cyan, a color like aquamarine gemstone held up to a winter light. This is Uranus. This planet is often misunderstood, often overlooked in the grand tour of the solar system. But tonight, we see it for what it truly is, the sleeping giant. It is a world of supreme stillness, a monument to the peace that comes with isolation. It is the seventh planet from the Sun, orbiting at a distance of over 19 times further than the Earth. At this distance, the noise of the inner solar system is completely gone. There is only the silence of the frost. As we approach this pale marble, the first thing we notice is its orientation. Every other planet we have visited, Jupiter, Saturn, Mars, Earth, spins like a top. They stand upright in their orbits, pirouetting gracefully as they circle the Sun. But Uranus is different. Uranus is lying down. Its axial tilt is 98 degrees. It is tilted so far over that its equator is where the poles should be, and its poles are where the equator should be. It does not spin, it rolls. It rolls along its orbital path like a ball rolling gently across a dark velvet carpet. Scientists believe that long ago, in the violent youth of the solar system, a massive object the size of Earth drifted too close and collided with Uranus. But instead of shattering the world, the impact simply knocked it over. It was a cosmic nudge that sent the planet into an eternal slumber. Since that day, billions of years ago, Uranus has remained on its side, resting in the darkness, turning slowly as it drifts through the ages. There is something deeply comforting about this image. In a universe of constant, upright motion, Uranus has chosen to lie down. It has chosen the posture of rest. It reminds us that it is okay to be different. It is okay to move at our own pace. And it is okay to simply rest while the rest of the world spins frantically around us. Because of this unique tilt, the seasons on Uranus are unlike anything else we know. They are long, slow, and profound. A single year on Uranus, one trip around the Sun, takes 84 Earth years. That is a lifetime for a human being. And because the planet is lying on its side, the seasons are extreme in their duration. Imagine standing at the North Pole of Uranus during the summer solstice. For 42 years, the sun never sets. It circles the sky, round and round, a pale eye that never blinks, bathing the pole in a constant, cool twilight. There is no night, only an endless day that stretches on for decades. But now, let us drift to the other side, to the pole that is turned away from the sun. Here, it is winter. But this is not a winter of 3 months. It is a winter of 42 years. For 42 years, the sun never rises. The pole is plunged into a continuous, unbroken darkness. Let us float there for a moment, in the dark hemisphere. It is the quietest place in the solar system. There is no sunlight to stir the atmosphere, no dawn to break the stillness. There is only the starlight, crisp and clear, shining down on a sea of frozen clouds. The constellations wheel overhead in tiny circles, watching over a world that is locked in a deep, hibernating sleep. It is a darkness that is not scary, but restorative. It is the kind of darkness that allows for the deepest, most dreamless rest imaginable. Uranus is currently leaving its equinox, a time when the sun shines on the equator, and is slowly rolling toward another solstice. We are witnessing the slow breathing of a seasonal cycle that takes a human lifetime to complete one inhalation. As we look at the face of the planet, we are struck by how smooth it is. When the Voyager 2 spacecraft flew past Uranus in 1986, it saw a world that was almost completely featureless. It was a blank, blue slate. Unlike Jupiter with its painted bands, or Saturn with its golden storms, Uranus looked calm. It looked like a pool of still water. Later, with better eyes like the Hubble telescope, we began to see faint clouds and bands appearing in the infrared. We realized that there is weather here, but it is hidden beneath a thick haze of methane. It is a shy weather, appearing only as subtle brightenings near the poles. The planet keeps its activity to itself, wrapped in a layer of serene blue mist. The color itself is soothing. The atmosphere is composed mainly of hydrogen and helium, but it also contains about 2% methane. Methane absorbs the red light from the distant sun and reflects the blue and green, giving the planet its signature aquamarine hue. It is a cool color, a color of ice and depth. Staring at it is like staring into the heart of a glacier. It cools the mind, it slows the pulse, and it is cold here. Truly cold. Uranus is the coldest planet in the solar system. Even though Neptune is further away, Uranus is colder. Its atmosphere drops to -220 degrees Celsius. There is a mystery to this coldness. Most giant planets radiate heat from their interiors, remembering the warmth of their formation. Jupiter glows with heat. Saturn glows with heat. Neptune glows with heat, but Uranus is silent. It radiates hardly any excess heat at all. It is in thermal equilibrium with space. It has given up its fire. It has settled into a state of perfect, chilly balance. Some say that the great collision that knocked it on its side also stirred up its interior, releasing all its primordial heat long ago. Whatever the cause, the result is a world that is frozen in time. It is a cryogenic chamber of the cosmos, preserving its secrets in a wrapper of blue ice. We often call Uranus and Neptune gas giants, grouping them with Jupiter and Saturn. But this is not quite right. They are different creatures. Astronomers now call them ice giants. Jupiter and Saturn are mostly gas, extending deep down. But Uranus has a mantle that is more substantial. Beneath the clouds of hydrogen and helium, there is a vast, hot, dense fluid of icy materials: water, ammonia, and methane. It is not a solid ocean, and it is not a gas. It is a supercritical fluid, a state of matter that is thick and slushy. We are drifting over an ocean of water and ammonia that makes up the bulk of the planet's mass. It is a hidden sea, darker and deeper than any ocean on Earth, wrapping around a small, rocky core. The planet is essentially a ball of fluid spinning in space, held together by gravity. Despite its sleepy appearance, Uranus is not alone. It has its own family of rings and moons, though they are fainter and darker than Saturn's. The rings of Uranus were a surprise to us. We didn't even know they existed until 1977, when the planet passed in front of a distant star. The star blinked on and off as the invisible rings blocked its light. They are dark rings, made of particles as black as charcoal. They do not reflect the light like Saturn's icy jewels. They are shadows, circling a shadow. There are 13 of them, narrow and sharp, huddled close to the planet. They are young rings, likely born from the debris of a small moon that wandered too close and was broken apart by gravity. Drifting among these dark bands are the moons. Uranus has 27 known moons, and in a lovely tradition, they are not named after gods or heroes of mythology. They are named after characters from English literature, from the works of William Shakespeare and Alexander Pope. We drift past Miranda, Ariel, Umbriel, Titania, and Oberon. They are a cast of characters playing out a silent play on a frozen stage. Titania is the queen of the fairies, the largest of the moons, a world of dirty ice and valleys. Umbriel is the darkest, a shadowy spirit that reflects almost no light. But look at Miranda. This small moon is a patchwork of jagged cliffs and canyons, looking as if it was broken apart and pieced back together by a clumsy giant. It is a world of scars, yet it orbits peacefully. It reminds us that even things that are broken can still find their place in the dance of the universe. The moons of Uranus act just like the planet they orbit. Because Uranus is tilted on its side, the moons are tilted too. They orbit around the planet's equator, which means their paths are vertical relative to the solar system. From our perspective, they look like a Ferris wheel, circling up and over, rather than around and around. It is a unique orientation, a clockwork mechanism that is turning at a right angle to the rest of the worlds. There is also a strange magnetic song here. The magnetic field of Uranus is not centered. It does not originate from the core of the planet, but from a point 1/3 of the way to the surface. And it is tilted wildly, 60 degrees away from the axis of rotation. As the planet rolls, this lopsided magnetic field corkscrews through space, twisting and turning in a complex wobbling spiral. It is a chaotic field, yet it protects the planet just the same. It is a reminder that protection does not always have to be perfect or symmetrical. It just needs to be there. As we linger here, in the shadow of the sleeping giant, we feel the immense distance we have traveled. The sun is so far away now that its light is weak and watery. The warmth of the inner solar system is a distant memory. We are in the realm of the deep cold, but it is not a lonely feeling. It is a feeling of solitude. There is a difference. Loneliness is a craving for company. Solitude is the enjoyment of being alone. Uranus enjoys its solitude. It rolls through the dark, content in its strangeness, content in its silence, content to sleep through its 42-year winter without being disturbed. The pale blue light of the atmosphere fills our vision. It is a light that seems to come from a dream. It is steady and unblinking. It invites us to slow down our own internal clocks. Why rush? Why worry about minutes and hours when a single season lasts for decades? Here, in the presence of Uranus, our human anxieties seem incredibly small and fleeting. We can learn from this giant. We can learn to lie down. We can learn to let the world spin without us for a while. We can learn to find comfort in the cool, quiet shadows. But there is one more stop on our journey. There is one more giant waiting for us at the very edge of the map. It is the twin of Uranus, yet it is different in spirit. It is a world of wind and deep blue storms. It is the final outpost before the great emptiness begins. We must leave the sleeping giant now. We must let it continue its long nap in peace. We turn our gaze outward toward the final frontier. We are setting our course for the windy shores of Neptune. Let the cyan light fade behind you. Let the corkscrew magnetic field unravel into the void. We are drifting further, deeper, to the end of the line. We have floated in the pale cyan mists of Uranus, and we have set our course for the distant blue orb of Neptune. But before we arrive at the surface of the final giant, we must take a moment to understand what lies beneath these thick blankets of cloud. We must close our eyes to the starlight and let our imagination sink down, down into the hidden depths where these two worlds are almost identical twins. Uranus and Neptune are often called the ice giants. The name suggests a world of frozen cliffs and snow-covered plains, a place of brittle cold. But the reality is far more complex and far more fluid. These planets are not frozen in the way a pond freezes in winter. They are made of something stranger, something that exists only under the immense weight of gravity. As we descend in our minds through the upper atmosphere of either planet, the hydrogen and helium gas begin to thicken. The light from the distant sun fades away entirely, leaving us in a darkness that is absolute. It is a comforting, enveloping velvet blackness, a place where no photon has ever traveled. Here, the pressure begins to build. It presses in from all sides, a uniform, heavy hug that holds everything in stasis. The deeper we go, thousands of kilometers down, the gas transitions smoothly into a hot, dense liquid. This is the mantle. It is a vast, planet-wide ocean, but it is not made of water alone. It is a mixture of water, ammonia, and methane ices. But do not let the word ice fool you. In the language of astrophysics, ice refers to the materials, not the temperature. This mantle is actually incredibly hot, reaching temperatures of thousands of degrees. It is a slushy, swirling soup of superheated fluid. Electrically conductive, we are drifting in a deep, dark sea that has no surface and no bottom. It is a state of matter known as a supercritical fluid, where the distinction between liquid and gas dissolves. It is thick, heavy, and slow. The currents here move with the lethargy of deep time, circulating heat from the core to the surface over millions of years. But it is what happens at the very bottom of this mantle, where the pressure becomes unimaginable, that is the true wonder of these worlds. Deep inside Uranus and Neptune, the pressure is so intense that it begins to manipulate the very atoms of the fluid. The methane molecules, which are made of carbon and hydrogen, can no longer hold their shape. The crushing weight squeezes them until they break apart. The hydrogen atoms drift away, but the carbon atoms find each other in the dark. Under this immense pressure, 7 million times the pressure of Earth's atmosphere, the carbon atoms are forced into their most stable, most perfect form. They lock together. They crystallize. They become diamonds. Imagine this scene in the silence of the deep interior. In the absolute darkness, where no eye can see, tiny crystals of pure diamond are forming. They begin as microscopic seeds, glinting in the infrared heat. Slowly, they grow. They become larger, heavier stones. And then, because they are denser than the fluid around them, they begin to fall. It is raining diamonds inside the ice giants. This is not a violent storm. It is a slow, majestic descent. Millions of tons of diamonds, ranging from small gems to stones the size of boulders, are drifting down through the mantle like hailstones. They fall through the thick, hot fluid, a glittering shower of wealth that no human will ever possess. They tumble silently through the dark, flashing with the internal heat of the planet, catching the invisible light of the chemical reactions. It is a rain of forever. It has been falling for billions of years, and it will fall for billions more. It is a process of purification, the planet separating its elements, letting the heavy, beautiful carbon sink to the center. And where do these diamonds go? They fall until they reach the core boundary. Here, the temperatures are so extreme that even diamond can no longer remain solid. Scientists theorize that there may be a layer of liquid carbon, a literal ocean of liquid diamond, at the base of the mantle. We can visualize the solid diamond splashing silently into this liquid sea, melting away to join the slow churning currents of the deep. Or perhaps in some regions, there are solid diamond bergs floating in the liquid carbon, vast islands of crystal drifting on a metallic sea. It is a landscape of impossible luxury, hidden behind the blue clouds. It reminds us that the universe is full of treasures that are not meant for us. They are not there to be mined, or sold, or worn. They are there simply to exist. They are there to participate in the physics of the planet. The beauty of the diamond rain is its secrecy. It is a private event hosted by the planet for itself. This phenomenon explains some of the mysteries of these worlds. The friction of the falling diamonds generates heat, warming the interior. It explains why Neptune radiates more heat than it receives from the sun. The falling rain is an engine, releasing energy as it descends, keeping the heart of the planet alive and warm in the freezing outer reaches of the solar system. As we float in this imaginary space, surrounded by the slow cascade of falling gems, we feel a sense of profound heaviness. But it is a good heaviness. It is the feeling of being grounded. It is the feeling of substance. These planets are not just puffs of air. They are solid, weighty, complex worlds with hearts of rock and rain of crystal. The magnetic fields of Uranus and Neptune are generated here in this churning, conductive ocean. Because the fluid is swirling around a core that is not clearly defined, the magnetic fields are offset and tilted. They do not line up with the poles. They are wild and wandering, twisted by the rotation of the conductive liquids. It is a chaotic engine, but it works. It creates a protective shell around the planet, a magnetosphere that deflects the solar wind and keeps the moon safe. We have lingered long enough in the pressure of the deep. It is time to rise. We let our minds float upward, following the hydrogen bubbles, leaving the diamond rain behind in the depths. We ascend through the layers of superheated water and ammonia. The fluid becomes less dense. The darkness begins to lift. We break the surface of the internal ocean and enter the atmosphere once more. The pressure eases. The heavy hug of gravity softens. We rise through the cloud decks, watching the color return to the world. We see the faint light of the sun penetrating the mist. The deep indigo turns to a lighter blue. We are emerging at our final destination. We have traveled from the inside out. We are now hovering above the cloud tops of the last giant. We have arrived at Neptune. While Uranus was a pale, almost featureless cyan, Neptune is vivid. It is a deep, rich azure, a color of intense saturation. It looks like the Earth's ocean, but made of gas. It is the color of twilight, the color of the deep sea, the color of dreams. Neptune is the 8th and furthest planet from the Sun. It orbits at a distance of 30 astronomical units, 30 times further from the Sun than the Earth. That is 4.5 billion kilometers away. It is so far that it takes light itself 4 hours to travel from the Sun to get here. From this distance, the Sun is just a pinprick of light. It is 900 times dimmer here than it is on Earth. And yet, miraculously, this dim light is still enough to power the atmosphere. It is enough to drive the seasons. It is enough to wake the sleeping winds. We are floating at the very edge of the solar system's known map. Beyond here lies the Kuiper Belt, the realm of dwarf planets and icy comets. But here, at Neptune, we still have the comfort of a large, spherical world. We are at the final outpost. The air here is cold, incredibly cold, dropping to -201 degrees Celsius. But unlike Uranus, the atmosphere of Neptune is alive. It is dynamic. We can see clouds forming and dissipating. We can see bright white streaks of methane ice floating high in the atmosphere, casting shadows on the blue deck below. It is a world of wind. In fact, Neptune is the windiest planet in the solar system. The winds here whip around the equator at speeds of over 2,000 kilometers per hour. That is faster than the speed of sound. It is a supersonic flow. But in our sleepy state, we do not hear the roar of the wind. We perceive it as a smooth, continuous stream. It is a river of air that flows without obstacle. On Earth, winds are broken by mountains and forests and buildings. On Neptune, there is nothing to stop them. They flow forever, circling the planet in a seamless ribbon of motion. It is a place of high-speed tranquility. To be caught in the wind of Neptune is not to be buffeted. It is to be carried. It is to surrender to the flow, to drift with the current of the planet, moving effortlessly through the blue twilight. We drift along the equator, watching the bands of clouds slide past. We see dark spots, great storms that appear and disappear over the years. Voyager 2 saw the Great Dark Spot, a storm the size of Earth. By the time Hubble looked a few years later, it was gone. New storms had formed. The planet is constantly reinventing its face, painting new patterns in the azure mist. This activity is powered by the heat we saw deep inside. The diamond rain and the cooling core release warmth that rises up, stirring the atmosphere, creating the energy needed to drive the winds. It is the heartbeat of the planet, pulsing from the inside out. We are safe here, floating in the upper atmosphere. The wind carries us gently toward the dark side of the planet. We look out into the void, away from the sun. The stars are bright and unblinking. We are standing on the shore of the interstellar ocean. The next star is light years away. But Neptune is not alone in this solitude. It has a companion, a moon that is as mysterious as the planet itself. As we drift through the blue gloom, we see it rising over the horizon. It is Triton. We must make one final short journey to visit this strange, retrograde moon. It is the perfect place to end our tour, a world that is walking backwards into the future. Prepare to leave the atmosphere of Neptune. We are rising up, breaking free of the blue clouds, entering the thin ring system that circles the planet. We are moving toward the final landing of our dreams. We have emerged from the diamond-filled depths of the interior, rising up through the layers of superheated fluid until we broke the surface of the clouds. We are now floating once again in the open twilight of Neptune. The deep saturated blue of the planet fills our vision, a color so rich and endless that it feels like we are drifting in the heart of a sapphire. We are at the edge of the known world, standing on the final shore of the giants before the great emptiness begins. Here, in the upper atmosphere, we encounter the breath of the planet. It is a breath of staggering power, yet in our slow drift, it feels like a caress. Neptune possesses the fastest winds in the solar system. They whip around the equator at speeds reaching 2,160 kilometers per hour. It is a number that is hard to comprehend. It is nearly a supersonic flow, a wind that moves faster than the speed of sound. But unlike the chaotic, swirling storms of Earth, or the turbulent bands of Jupiter, the winds of Neptune have a strange, streamlined quality. Because there is no solid land to break them, no mountains to divert them, and no forests to slow them down, they flow in a perfect, uninterrupted stream. They are a river of air that circles the world forever. Imagine for a moment that you are a cloud on Neptune. You are a bright, white streak of methane ice, crystallized high in the stratosphere. You are caught in this jet stream. You are not buffeted or shaken. You are simply carried. You are moving at incredible velocity, sliding through the blue silence, traveling retrograde to the rotation of the planet. It is a sensation of pure, effortless flight. It is the ultimate surrender to the flow. The wind is not an enemy here. It is a vehicle, a smooth, invisible highway that wraps the planet in a ribbon of motion. As we drift higher, leaving the winds below, we encounter the faintest of halos. Like its siblings, Neptune has rings, but they are not the glittering jewels of Saturn. They are shadows. There are 5 known rings here, named after the astronomers who dedicated their lives to finding this distant world: Galilei, Leverrier, Lassell, Arago, and Adams. It is dark, darker than wet soil, made of dust that reflects almost no light. It is a ghost ring, only 35 kilometers wide, but it holds a secret. As we drift along its curve, we see that the ring is not uniform. There are brighter patches, clumps of material known as arcs, usually ring particles spread out evenly over time, seeking balance. But here, something is holding the dust together in clusters. It is a mystery of gravity, a subtle shepherding by unseen forces that keeps these arcs alive. They look like faint brushstrokes of grey paint on a black canvas, stationary waves in a moving river of dust. They are delicate, fragile, and achingly beautiful in their subtlety. They remind us that even at the edge of the solar system, nature still finds ways to create structure and pattern. But the true wonder of the Neptunian system lies further out. We turn our gaze away from the rings, looking out into the vast, dark sphere of Neptune's gravity. There, rising slowly against the backdrop of the distant stars, is a world that does not belong. It is Triton. Triton is the largest of Neptune's 14 moons. It is a massive object, bigger even than the dwarf planet Pluto. But it is not its size that makes it special. It is its behavior. As we watch it orbit, we notice something wrong. Every other large moon in the solar system, our moon, the Galilean moons of Jupiter, the diverse family of Saturn orbits in the same direction that the planet spins. They are a harmonious family, moving in sync, but Triton moves in retrograde. It orbits in the opposite direction to Neptune's rotation. It is the only large moon in the solar system to do this. It is a rebel. It is walking backwards. This tells us a profound story. Triton was not born here. It did not form from the same dust and gas that created Neptune. It was a wanderer. Long ago, it was a free object, likely a dwarf planet from the Kuiper Belt, drifting through the dark. It ventured too close to the giant gravity of Neptune, and it was captured. It was caught in a gravitational embrace from which it could never escape. There is a romantic sadness to Triton. It is a stranger in a strange land, a traveler that was stopped in its tracks. Its retrograde orbit implies that its arrival was violent, likely disrupting the original moons of Neptune, scattering them or causing them to collide to form the rubble of the rings we see today. But now, eons later, the violence has faded. The chaos has settled into a stable, if backward, rhythm. Triton has accepted its new home. It circles Neptune in a highly inclined path, a lonely orange marble rolling against the grain of the rest of the system. Let us drift down toward the surface of this captured world. As we approach, we see that it is not grey and dead. It has color. Triton is covered in a frost of nitrogen and methane, which turns a beautiful shade of burnt orange under the weak ultraviolet light of the sun. It looks like a peach frozen in the vacuum. The surface is unlike anything we've seen. We drift over vast plains of what scientists call cantaloupe terrain. It is a wrinkled, pitted landscape that looks exactly like the skin of a melon, a complex network of depressions and ridges formed by the icy crust shifting and bubbling over millions of years. It is a texture of age and cold, and yet Triton is alive. Just like Enceladus, this moon breathes. As we hover over the southern polar cap, we see dark streaks painted on the ice. These are the tracks of geysers. Voyager 2 saw them, faint plumes of nitrogen gas and dust erupting 8 kilometers into the thin atmosphere. But unlike the hot steam of Earth, these geysers are powered by the incredibly weak warmth of the distant sun. The sunlight heats the nitrogen ice just enough to vaporize it, creating pressure that bursts through the crust. It is a subtle, gentle geology. The plumes rise up, and then the thin winds of Triton carry the dust sideways, creating long dark clouds that stretch out parallel to the ground. We can imagine standing there, on the frozen orange plains. The temperature is incredibly low, only 30 to 8 degrees above absolute zero. It is one of the coldest places in the solar system. The silence is profound. And yet, around you, the ground is exhaling. Silent, black fountains of dust are spraying into the twilight sky, painting streaks across the horizon. We look up from the surface of Triton, and we see Neptune hanging in the sky. It is huge, a blue giant dominating the view, watching over its captured child. The relationship between them is intimate but doomed. Because Triton orbits backwards, the tides are slowly stealing its energy. It is spiraling inward, very, very slowly. Over billions of years, Triton is getting closer to Neptune. One day, in the far, distant future, Triton will drift too close. The gravity of Neptune will pull it apart. The moon will shatter, crumbling into a billion pieces of ice. And on that day, Neptune will be gifted a new ring system, a spectacular halo of debris that will rival even Saturn's in glory. Triton will not die. It will be transformed. It will become a crown for the king of the sea. But that is a story for an era long after ours. For now, Triton is safe. It continues its backward waltz, a beautiful anomaly, a reminder that the universe is full of chance encounters and strange adoptions. We lift off from Triton now, drifting further out, away from the moon, away from the blue planet. We are moving to the very edge of Neptune's influence. The gravity here is weak, but it reaches far. Neptune has a massive hill sphere, the region where its gravity dominates over the Sun. Because it is so far out, this sphere of influence is enormous. There are other moons here, tiny irregular rocks like Nereid, Sao, and Naso. They are the furthest outposts. Some of them are so distant that it takes them 25 years to complete a single orbit around Neptune. Think of that. A moon that sees one sunrise for every generation of humans. They are lonely sentinels, patrolling the border between the solar system and the deep interstellar night. We have reached the limit. We are hovering at the boundary. Let us turn around one last time. Look back toward the center. Look past the blue disk of Neptune. Look past the unseen darkness of Uranus. Look past the golden glow of Saturn and the amber beacon of Jupiter. Look all the way back to the center of the carousel. There is the Sun. From here, 30 times further away than Earth, the Sun does not look like the giant blinding orb we know. It looks like a star. It is the brightest star in the sky. Yes, intense and piercing, but it is small. It is just a point of light. You could cover it with the head of a pin held at arm's length. It is 900 times dimmer here than on Earth. The light is thin and watery. It casts long, sharp shadows that do not scatter. It is a twilight that never truly ends. Seeing the Sun this small changes our perspective. We realize how far we have drifted. We have traveled to the attic of our home, to the quiet, dusty corners where the light barely reaches. We have left the noise and the heat far behind. The solar wind, that stream of particles from the Sun, is weak here. The magnetic fields are stretched thin. The silence is absolute. We are floating in the pause between the worlds. We are resting on the final shore. Behind us, the darkness is total. The stars there belong to other systems, other stories. But here, looking back at the tiny sun, we feel a sense of completion. We have visited the giants. We have touched the clouds. We have ridden the winds. We have seen the rains of diamond and the volcanoes of ice. We are tired now. The journey has been long. The wonders have been many. The mind, which was so active, so hungry for sights, is now full. It is heavy with the beauty of the cosmos. It is ready to rest. The blue light of Neptune is soothing. The orange glow of Triton is warm. The tiny white spark of the sun is a nightlight, keeping watch while we sleep. We are ready to let go of the drift. We are ready to let the gravity of our own dreams take over. The final shore is not a place of ending, but a place of stillness. It is the perfect place to close our eyes. And so, we turn away from the final shore. We leave the blue twilight of Neptune and the lonely, backward-walking moon of Triton. We leave the faint, cold rings and the supersonic winds behind us. We are drifting back now, retracting our consciousness from the edge of the map, floating gently back across the billions of kilometers we have traveled. The journey is complete. We have visited the giants of silence. As we drift homeward, let us gather the feelings we have collected tonight like precious stones. We remember the amber warmth of Jupiter, the great anchor of the system. We recall the feeling of its immense gravity, not as a weight that crushes, but as a presence that protects. We know that out there, in the dark, a guardian is watching, catching the stray stones, keeping the solar system safe for us to sleep. We remember the painted clouds and the great red spot, that ancient eye that has seen centuries pass without blinking. We carry with us the sense of stability, the knowledge that the center holds. We remember the golden elegance of Saturn, the crown jewel. We recall the mesmerizing flow of the rings, those rivers of ice where every particle has its place and every shepherd moon tends to its flock. We think of the celestial waltz of the moons, the perfect rhythm of the day, and the brave traveler Cassini who became one with the mist. We carry with us the sense of harmony, the beauty of a world where everything moves in a grand, silent coordination. We remember the pale, sleeping face of Uranus. We recall the world that lies on its side, rolling through the darkness in a slumber that lasts for decades. We think of the 42 years of winter, the 42 years of summer, and the deep, cooling cyan light. We carry with us the permission to rest, the understanding that it is okay to be different, and that there is a profound peace to be found in solitude and stillness. And we remember the deep azure mystery of Neptune. We recall the winds that flow without obstacles, the rain of diamonds falling in the hidden deep, and the quiet acceptance of the distant sun. We carry with us the sense of flow, the willingness to let go and be carried by the currents of the universe. These worlds are not just distant objects. They are a part of us, and we are a part of them. The atoms in your body, the carbon in your cells, the iron in your blood. They were forged in the same stellar fires that created the gas giants. You are not separate from the cosmos. You are a piece of it. You are the universe observing itself, a momentary spark of consciousness in the long, beautiful dark. The gravity that holds Jupiter's moons in their orbits is the same gravity that holds you to your bed right now. It is a universal embrace. It is a gentle tether that connects you to everything else that exists. You are grounded. You are held. You are right where you are meant to be. If these calm, curious explorations help you unwind, I invite you to like or subscribe It helps other sleepy souls find their way here too. And now, the time for exploration is over. The time for thinking is done. It is time to return to the sanctuary of your own space, to the warmth of your own rest. Feel the room around you settling into silence. The walls are protective and strong. The air is cool and still. The darkness is a soft blanket tucked in around the edges of your mind. Let the images of the planets fade. Let the bright bands of Jupiter dissolve into a soft golden haze. Let the sharp rings of Saturn melt into a silver mist. Let the blue ice of Uranus and Neptune soften into the deep indigo of the night. You do not need to hold on to them anymore. They will continue to spin without you. That is the greatest comfort of all. To know that the universe is capable of managing itself. The storms will swirl, the rings will shimmer, and the diamonds will fall, whether you are watching or not. You can let go of your vigilance. You can release your attention. The giants are awake, so you can sleep. Your body is heavy now. Sink deeper into the mattress. Feel the tension leaving your muscles, flowing out of your fingers and toes, evaporating into the air. Your breathing is slow and steady, matching the rhythm of the tides, matching the slow, long orbits of the outer worlds. Inhale and feel the peace of the vacuum. Exhale and release the weight of the day. You are a traveler returning home. You have drifted through the vastness, and you have found that it is not empty. It is full of wonder. It is full of silence. And now you are safe in the center of your own quiet galaxy. There is nothing left to do. There are no more distances to cross. There is only the here and the now and the soft, inviting dark. Let yourself drift. Let yourself float. Let the gravity of sleep pull you gently down, deeper and deeper into the dreamless sea. The worlds are turning. The silence is complete. Close your eyes. Rest and dream of the quiet, radiant sea of stars. Good night.